What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Stefan, and tonight I'm going to be talking about and celebrating the 27th anniversary of the third landmark album of the realest, greatest, lyrical, and influential rap revolutionaries of all time. So sit back and enjoy yourself on this ride with me throughout the video. Please don't forget to like, share, and comment on the video, and subscribe to my channel if you're new. Welcome back to the channel if you're a returning subscriber. Also, don't forget to turn on your notification for new videos. Thank you for your daily love and support. I gratefully appreciate it. So here we go. Happy 27th anniversary to one of the greatest rap classics that ever made by one of the greatest, influential, multi-talented, beloved, controversial, and black rap revolutionary, which is Tupac. Me Against the World is Tupac's third studio album, released on March 14th, 1995 through Interscope Records. This album was created in 1994, the year he was shot outside of Quad Recording Studios in Times Square, as discussed on the intro, and sent to prison. Many critics and fans feel this album was arguably his best due to the introspective he displayed throughout the album. The album debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200, making him the first artist to have a #1 album while incarcerated. It was nominated for a Grammy in the Best Rap Album category, a album it won at the 1996 Soul Train Awards. The album was also featured on multiple all-time lists, such as the Source 100 Best Albums, Rap Albums of All Time, and Complex 90s Best Albums of the 90s. The album was supported by the singles So Many Tears, Temptations, and the title track, and the Grammy-nominated hit Dear Mama, the dedication to his mother, Afeni Shakur. Regarding the album, Tupac said the following: Me Against the World is really showing people that this is a art to me, that I take it like that. And whatever mistakes I make out of ignorance, not out of disrespect to music or the art. So, Me Against the World was deep, reflective. It was like a blues record. It was down home. It was all my fears, all the things that I couldn't sleep about. Everybody thought that I was living so well, doing so well. I wanted to explain that. And it took a whole album to get it all out. It explaining my lifestyle, who I am, my upbringing, and everything. It talks about the streets, but talks about it in a different light. There is a song on there dedicated to mothers. Just a song that I wrote just for my mother. And it dig deeper like that. I wanted to do something for all the mothers, and I'm proud of that song. It affected a lot of people. On his third landmark album, Me Against the World, Tupac showed his two selves, the fearless gangster rapper and the introspective poet. Released on March 14, 1995 by Interscope Records and Jive Records, drawing lyrical inspiration from his impending prison sentence, troubles with the police, and poverty. The album is described as being Tupac's most introspective album. According to Tupac, Me Against the World was made to show the hip-hop audience his respect for the art form. Lyrically, he intentionally tried to make the album more personal and reflective than his previous efforts. The musical production on the album was considered by many music critics and fans to be the best of any of his albums up to that point in his career. Released while Tupac was in prison, Me Against the World made an immediately impact on the charts, debuting at number 1 on the Billboard 200, holding the top spot for 4 straight weeks, and top R&B hip-hop album charts. Dear Mama was released as the album's first single in February of '95 and would be the album's most successful single, topping the Hot Rap single charts and peaking at number 9 on the Billboard Hot 100. While Tupac was in prison, the album overtook Bruce Springsteen's greatest hits as the current best-selling album of the year in the United States. Me Against the World is the album that made Tupac the artist we know and love today. While his next two efforts, All Eyes on Me and The 7 Day Theory, which he recorded under the alias Machiavelli, and they respective singles, will raise his profile. It was Me Against the World that transcended the cultural trappings surrounding 90s gangster rap, making Tupac a cultural force that went beyond hip-hop. The album helped shift his image from that of gangster rapper to more of gangster poet, setting the stage for Tupac to become one of the most famous MCs in the world, heading straight to number 1 in the US, and it also made Tupac the first star to top the album charts while in prison. But despite the press labeling his lifestyle and his harsh consequences of persona, Tupac knew better than anyone the realities of thug life, and Me Against the World found him coming at terms with them. At 23 years old, Tupac was already a young, influential, multi-talented, and controversial superstar with 2 albums under his name, with the 1991's Tupacalypse Now and the 1993 Strictly For My Niggas, along with 3 movies starring with the classics Juice in 92, Poetic Justice in 93, and Above the Rim in 94. While his previous work was also amazing, I've gone on record before to say I think Pac during 1993 to 1994 is the most underrated period musically. This is where Pac hit his stride. The paranoia he was feeling, the stress, the concept of morality, and the height of his popularity all created a perfect storm for this album. And I would think the backstory of this album is what makes it so unique, along with the music. The narrative behind it fits so perfectly. 93, let's start there. Pac is on top of the world. Poetic Justice is a cult classic, a successful film at that time. Strictly for My Niggas is a platinum album. He also has 2 mega hit singles and friendships in place with so many big names in the business, including a young, influential future upcoming MC straight out of Brooklyn, which was Biggie. Though he wasn't necessarily the big artist in the world, Tupac was definitely enjoying the spoils of fame, but it began to catch up with him. After some altercations with the Hughes brothers over the role in Menace to Society, an incident where he shot some off-duty police officers and some outlandish sexual assault, as cold as things began to look bleak for Pac. Shortly after the trial begun for him on a sexual assault case, Pac began working on more music. No one could understand his mindset and what he was going through. With the new music underway, Pac would finish crafting an album that he considered his gift to the culture to speak. Pac wanted to show the world that he truly loved this hip-hop art form, and this was his way of doing so. He would lyrically begin to write so much personal lyrics, putting his soul on wax, and the result would end up as something special. However, Me Against the World was in its finished stages. The unthinkable happened. Pac would be ambushed and shot in late of November 94 in Quad Studios. This will come right around the time Pac was found guilty of these 4 sexual assault charges and sentenced to jail for 1.5 to 4.5 years for this offense. Could this any get worse for Pac? Lied on for charges, found guilty, and shot. Nothing seemed to be working in his favor. And as he went in to serve his time, he still had a gem of an album waiting for the world to hear. Interscope Records will release the first single from the album while Pac was behind bars, and oddly enough, the album will stand as the best work from Pac. Wasn't received, but he wasn't able to receive promotional support from him because of his jail sentence. It's ironic almost. But on March 14, 1995, while Pac was sat in federal prison, his album would finally be heard in its entirety. It also became the first album to hit #1 on the Billboard charts while he was still in jail. It was a huge moment in Pac's career, the biggest he ever achieved thus far, and he had to miss on it. With over 3 million in sales, triple platinum certification, and a lasting legacy and see as the best Pac album, we take a look back and remember this classic from one of the greatest MCs of all time. The album started with the Paranoia gem called If I Die Tonight, which was back up by a dope Betty Wright sample from Easy Mo B, allowing Pac to spit some of his best rhymes and lyricism. That was the main thing about this album in general. Pac was at his prime and peak as a lyricist. He kicked off the song with some tongue-twisting lyricism that set the tone for the rest of the album, and it goes like this. They say pussy and power, paper is poetry, poet and pistols, plotting on murdering motherfuckers before they get you. Picturing pitiful punk niggas punking, copping plea, puffing weed. As I position to clock myself more G, my enemy scattering suicidal situation, witnessing the wicked shit that they was facing. Pockets is packed with presidents. Pursue your riches, evading the playing hidden tricks while hitting switches. The rest of the song is traditional paranoia pop, which serve as a welcome of sorts to what is his most in-depth album. The album track follows and chimes with a double sample of Walk By and a nearly recognizable sample of Minnie Riperton, Inside My Love, produced by Soul Chalk and Carlin. Once again, Pac display his little ability on this track, with the third verse being the ultimate Pac verses, when Pac stated he was showing his love of the art form of this project. He truly meant it. Look at his lyrical process on the third voice. With all this extra stressing, the question I wonder is, after death, where after my last breath? When do I finally get to rest through this suppression? They punishing people that's asking questions, and those that possess, stealing the ones without possession. The message I stress to make it stop. Study your lessons. Don't settle for less. Even a genius ask questions. Be grateful for blessings. Don't ever change. Keep your essence. The power is in the power. The degree address. Always do your best. Don't let the pressure make you panic, because when you get stranded, things don't go the way you plan it. Then the initial rhyme scheme, the wordplay, the rawness. If this isn't Pac's best moments as a rapper, then I don't know what is. He follows the title track with his most gripping and emotional song, and So Many Tears, which is one of my all-time favorites. Pac honestly talk about his fate, and as the jail time had him thinking suicidal and seeing his own demise. Even at the young age of 23, Pac felt like his soul was tired and has been through so much. Now that I'm lost and I'm weary, so many tears, I'm suicidal, so don't stand near me. My every move is a calculated step to get me closer to embrace an early death. Now that's nothing left. There was no mercy on the streets. I couldn't rest. I'm about to go to pieces, screaming peace. Although my soul was deleted, I couldn't see. I had a mind for the demons trying to break free. They planted seeds in the hatch, start sparking the flame inside my brain like a mess, such a dirty game. It was at times these when we really get a chance to appreciate the artistry Pac brought to the game. And in his lowest moments, he turned to therapy of music. With his back against the wall, he came out swinging as he could. There was no better example of the depth and sincerity of Pac emotion and music than So Many Tears. He follows up with this song with one of his smooth track, in my opinion, and another one of my personal favorites on Temptations. The Easy Mo B produced Scorcher is showcasing Pac discussing the temptations of the beautiful women he encountered and what follows. Pac weaves through his verses on the song, putting his words together just right to capture the attention of the intended woman, and the results are perfect here. After this, we get into one of my least favorite songs on this album called Young Niggas. But that's not to say the song is dope. It is, without question. It's just that when you look at the rest of the dope music on here and the timeless songs, this one is probably the weaker songs. However, Pac picks up the pace a little bit and takes it to the West Coast with the Richie Rich assist heavy in the game, which I feel is one of the most slept on tracks on the whole album. The beat is knocking, the melody is smooth, and the hook is infectious, and both MCs kept coming with solid verses without a doubt. This is a banger, and it keeps the pace going. Keep the pace of the album going before we reach to one of the straightforward album songs on the album called Lord Knows. Lord Knows is the embodiment of the amounts and the stress that a young black male experienced. As a child, when I heard it, I felt the desperation in Pac's voice, the anger combined with the depressed sadness as he spoke about all his issues and the things he's seen in life that would influence him to be how he is. The open verse paints a picture and it goes like this. I smoke a blunt to take the pain out. If I wasn't high, I'd probably blow my brains out. I'm hopeless. They should have killed me as a baby, and now they got me trapped in the storm and I'm going crazy. Forgive me, they want to see me in my casket. If I don't blast, then I'll be a victim of them bastards. I'm losing hope. They got me stressing. Can the Lord forgive me? Got the spirit of a thug in me. Another sip of that drink, this Hennessy, got me queasy. Don't want to hurl. Young niggas, take it easy. Picture your dreams on a triple beam. And it seems, don't estimate the power of a fiend. In amongst this hopelessness that Pac was feeling at that time, he will put forth some perspective on losing some of his friends and the battle that comes along with that in the later verses. This song gives you the window into the soul of Pac, where and picks up where so many tears left off initially. So next, we be treated for the anthem for all mothers, as Pac directly talks to Afeni on Dear Mama. In so many ways, his most iconic songs are the one that promotes forms of positivity and paints a picture of a loving son, despite the thug life image he portrayed. Dear Mama isn't a squeaky clean auto to his mother, but it's an honest one, and he keeps it all the way real as he can. His mother at one point was a drug addict. He even admits to it. But he let it be known during that terrific period, she's still a black queen. It's a poetic ode to mothers around the world, and while it slows down the mood of the album, it's a welcome departure of the stress and anguish Pac brought to the album. The anguish returns yet again on It's Not Easy, but this is more of a relaxed anguish and an accepting of his fate in some way. The hook can be as simple as it be, knowing his situation, that as the time drives home and the stress hitting in his lyrics, as he looks at the possibility of going to prison, this is different from the vibes of So Many Tears and Lord Knows, as Pac seems to be taking a drive through the neighborhood, reflecting and realizing his truth, so to speak. Pac makes another joint for the ladies, but this one is different. He talks to a woman. He talks to a woman who is as in perceptive as an abusive relationship on Can You Get Away, which is backed up by a Frankie Bays and Frankie Beverly and Mays sample. After this track, Pac paid tribute and homage to the legends that came before him on Old School. It's crazy to think that Pac in '95 was making a track about the old school days of hip hop, discussing his music in the same respect. The first verse sees Pac running through all his favorites growing up and what he loves the most, and it goes like this. I remember Mr. Magic, Flash, Grandmaster Caz, LL, Raising Hell, but that didn't last. Eric B and Rakim was the shit to me. I flipped to see a Dougie Flesh show with Ricky D. And Red Over Luck was putting in work. And Chuck Chill had my homies on the hill getting real ill when shit was real. Went out to steal, remember ball. But Daddy Kane, Modella Soul was putting potholes in the game. I can't remember how it was. Houdini got me puffing on that Buddha giving buzz. And there I was. And the block parties in the projects and on my blog. The diggy don't stop sipping on that private stop. Do my speaker Queen Latifah and MC Light. Listen to Tristan KRS to get me through a lot. With TL Rock and Master Sonic and such a Sonic. Remember Pusha was the bomb shit. Nothing like the old school. Like that was my shit. For real. It was one of my favorite joints from the album. After this reflecting look past to appreciate the past, Pac let his paranoia consume him over and take over on the next song, which was Death Around the Corner. It was the eerie tracks in his collection, as he always being ready to keep his finger on the trigger at all times. Yet, the reality of his mortality begins to set the mood for him. And the notion that at any moment that he can be gone. It's the paranoia and the stress that he felt throughout the album. And Pac accept that if he gotta go, well, he gotta go. From If I Die Tonight to this track, Pac stared death and jail in the face and told them both, you won't break me and I'm not scared of one, and neither one of you. The album getting ready to close out, but Pac has one more lasting message to lead the world. Fuck the world, as straight up as it could be. After being labeled as a rapist, falsely accused, held down by a president and told that he wasn't shit, and battling with racism and the police, Pac had enough of it. He left a middle finger to all the people that's trying to keep him down. In the spirit of the album title takes on the entire world. He feels invisible through this track. And what you see and what you can see, honest, building up the narrative to this album. Essential, Pac spent the majority of this album finding himself and finally coming to grips with his reality, his ability, and who he is. If it was him against the world, Pac was going to give the world hell, and that was the message to take away from this album. Pac didn't pull any punches. He didn't stop what he was doing. He kept fighting, and on the final track of Outlaw, it's like he become invisible against the world. It's almost like a continuation of Fuck the World in that regard. and it works out perfectly to close the album. That's the beauty of this album, though. Pac was at his lowest point, back against the wall, unsure of who to trust. Things kept piling up. In the midst of this tough time, Pac created something magical that still relates to the world. Me Against the World is not only Pac's best album and a classic. In my opinion, it's one of the greatest hip hop albums ever. Thank you for coming on this trip with me. Please don't forget to like, share, and comment on the video, and subscribe to my channel. Also, don't forget to turn on your notifications for new videos. Have a safe and good night. God bless you. I'm out. Peace.